In this suburb with some of the highest school taxes in New Jersey, a $20 million budget gap seemed to appear out of nowhere. The governor-elect, Mikey Sherrill, lives in Montclair. She wants to know what happened, too.
We just somehow got into $20 million of debt in 1 year. Somebody's got to look at these books. I'm not saying that there's corruption, but there's certainly incompetence.
Well, this corruption story out of the state of New Jersey involving their school system should be worthy of national attention. First and foremost, it takes place in the Montclair School District of New Jersey, which just so happens to be the same area that Mikey Sherrill, the governor-elect for the state of New Jersey, calls her hometown. But in addition to that, it involves a $20 million mystery budget deficit that the school board is wholly inadequate in explaining, and this is despite the fact that New Jersey is among the highest property tax states in the entire union, and this particular school district has even higher taxes and is among the top taxed areas in the state of New Jersey. But somehow, someway, randomly, it was discovered that this particular school district is completely broke. They have a $20 million shortfall, and the way that they decided that they were going to try to remedy this shortfall is by putting a ballot initiative question up for a special election that was to take place a month after the statewide elections that we just had in November. However, that ballot initiative was struck down because the two questions about these massive tax increases that they were going to try to levy on top of the already overtaxed people of Montclair were so poorly and misleadingly worded that a judge had to declare them illegal. So we're going to break this whole thing down. We are going to talk about it, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
The rumors are in fact true, everyone. On Thursday, December 18th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be joined on this channel by Anna Kasparian, literal bestie of the channel.
It's real, guys. It's real.
Where we will discuss a great number of things with a specific focus on the corruption in the state of California. Definitely go to the link in the description, do the notify me thing because you don't want to miss it.
Right now, Montclair is dealing with two deficits, a financial deficit and a trust deficit. Vague answers, missing documents, confidentiality barriers, and delayed explanations.
You might be shocked to learn that the manner in which the district proceeded with the reduction in force and terminations was so frenetic that it might only be rivaled by the Doge cuts that the federal government employees faced.
It raises serious concerns about the integrity of the process and, more importantly, how this will impact our students.
It may be the middle of December, but it was simmering hot inside the Montclair Board of Education meeting tonight. Parents, students, and teachers piping mad over a proposal to slash up to 150 jobs.
I'm kind of shocked about how this had happened.
No one is, coming to save us at this point.
What you just witnessed right there was footage from the most recent Montclair School District School Board meeting where you had students and teachers and other people in the community coming to this meeting to yell at the school board due to the fact that seemingly overnight the school district has gone completely bankrupt. And I just want to point out something that should be obvious to everybody out there in the audience, but you might have missed it, and that is this idea that they're putting up the children in order to put young, sad faces on this particular problem in order to distract from the fact that this is in fact an issue of corruption, overspending, wasting already high tax dollars that this school district receives. And I absolutely have disdain for these officials that decided to drag in these kids in order to unwittingly advocate for these property tax increases. And by the way, the school board is basically sticking to the line that it's not their fault, it's the fault of the fact that a judge had to shut down their ballot initiative, because in reality, if you just let them raise property taxes even more than they already are, then all the problems would be wiped away. It would be nothing to worry about. However, that is patently absurd and ridiculous, as we're going to get into. But as I told you in the open, the big problem that the school district ultimately ended up having as of recently is the fact that a ballot initiative that was set to be voted on Tuesday, December 9th, was recently struck down by a New Jersey court due to the fact that this ballot initiative was unbelievably poorly worded because they were trying to hide the fact that they were stacking additional taxes on the residents in order to cover the school district's corrupt spending. And I think it is important to go to the ballot initiative wording itself so you can understand why the judge decided that they were going to, of course, strike this down. So there are two questions at issue, and question one reads as follows. Shall the Montclair Board of Education seek approval from the district's legal voters to raise an additional $12.6 million for the 2024-2025 school year as permitted under New Jersey SA 18A 22-40. The funds will be used to cover a deficit from the 2024-2025 year. Approval of these taxes will result in a one-time increase of the district's tax levy. So at least at the bottom of that particular question, you do have them admitting that they are going to increase the taxes on the residents of Montclair. However, obviously this is written in the most technical terms possible, and a perfect example of that is citing the numerical name of the statute rather than telling people that this is a massive one-time property tax increase. However, the second ballot question is even more dubious and more questionable. Question number 2, shall the Montclair Board of Education seek approval from the district's legal voters to raise an additional $7.6 million for the 2025-2026 school year as permitted under New Jersey SA 18A 2240. The various purposes, including but not limited to maintaining teachers and instructional assistants to avoid increased class sizes and program elimination, maintain security in schools, maintain facilities, maintain courtesy busing and protect the magnet school system, maintain circular athletics and extracurricular activities that threaten to be eliminated, conduct a forensic audit of the 2024-2025 financial records, update accounting software. These expenditures are in addition to those required to achieve the New Jersey student learning standards. Approval of these taxes will result in a permanent increase of the district's tax levy. Again, at the end of that particular question, it says that they will permanently increase the district's tax levy, but that is a very wordy way to say that they want to have a permanent property tax increase against the people who already pay among the highest property taxes in the entire state of New Jersey in order to cover the deficit that, again, they have yet to explain to the public. So obviously a judge looked at this and understood exactly what these people were doing. Also, if I didn't inform you guys from the jump that this ballot initiative was in fact the tax increase in and of itself, I would not blame you for being a bit confused, thinking that this ballot initiative is trying to ask the voters if the school board should ask the voters for future tax increases rather than just passing it at the school board level. Again, look at the way that this is worded. Shall the Montclair Board of Education seek approval from the district's legal voters to raise an additional $7.6 million for the 2025-2026 school year as permitted under New Jersey SA 18A 22-40. It seems like they're asking whether or not the school board should be required to get permission from the voters in order to raise taxes in the future. And it's not at all clear that this is in fact the tax increase ballot initiative in and of itself. And by the way, yes, this is done intentionally. And by the way, not only are these ballot questions incredibly and intentionally misleading, but in addition to that, opposite the actual proposal to raise these particular taxes without actually telling people that one is a massive temporary property tax increase and the other one is a permanent property tax increase, they end up saying that they'll have to borrow huge sums of money at bad interest rates if you were to vote no. So yeah, this is obviously meant to pressure voters into approving this, but in addition to that, as I said, despite the fact that we had an election in November that was statewide in the state of New Jersey, this was scheduled for December 9th. So again, this was designed to have as few people vote on it as possible, get them the most confused, and of course, this is something that advantages organized groups like the teachers union, who are the ones that are facing layoffs due to this massive budget deficit. Now again, obviously this is a scam ballot initiative. A judge saw it as much, so it was struck down. And in fact, we actually have footage from the courtroom of the judge going over this ballot initiative and how the judge responded to what was brought forward by the Montclair School District.
No, we're not doing that. That's embarrassing.
And now the earliest that they can get another special election for this specific question is March of next year. But again, they have yet to explain why this school district, which should be among the best funded in the entire state of New Jersey, has suddenly gone bankrupt. Why striking down this initiative on December 9th has essentially crippled the school system for years to come, because this is one of the most expensive and well-funded districts, or should be, in the state of New Jersey. And this is where we jump to a previous news segment where they investigated the books of this particular district.
The last month, the I-Team has been looking at the books and audit reports that show in the 2 years before the deficit became public, there were unapproved transfers, misposted revenue and receipts, and multiple over-expenditures, all on the watch of former school board secretary Christina Hunt.
So unsurprisingly, the reason why Montclair School District found themselves with a $20 million inexplicable hole in their budget, despite the fact that they have among the highest tax revenues in the entire state of New Jersey, was due to the fact that they had somebody in charge that was obscuring overspending, making unauthorized transfers, and basically stealing from the school system. And again, the school board's response to this was not to release the books and call out this previous employee. Their response was try to sneak in a ballot initiative on a special election in already an off year, a month after the gubernatorial election that we had back in November.
And it turns out there were similar discrepancies during Hunt's time in her prior district, East Orange. Here, audits found mispostings of revenue and receipts, budget lines overexpended, vendors paid in excess of approved bids.
But what we learn through this local NBC affiliate's investigation is that Christina Hunt does this at every school district that she's put in charge of. And of course, because there's no accountability in the state of New Jersey, she just moves on after she blows a massive hole in every one of their budgets to another place, is given a larger budget, and does the same exact thing at the next location, again, without any accountability.
Hunt resigned from East Orange in 2022, and 2 years later, that district announced an $8 million budget gap. By that time, she'd taken the job in Montclair. She resigned from that post around the time that $20 million hole was discovered. But the I-Team caught up with her in her latest role.
Good evening, Dr. Hobian, Ms. Turner, board members.
Keeping the books in Penns Grove, Carneys Point, a school district more than 100 miles away in South Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. She's actually working at another school district in South Jersey, even though she had to resign as the head of schools from her two previous positions after it was discovered that there was a surprise $8 million budget deficit and then a surprise $20 million budget deficit. It's absolute madness what goes on in this particular state, and the crazy thing is that this is nothing new. I believe in 2010 a film came out called The Cartel, which was a local news investigative reporter making a documentary about corruption in the New Jersey public school system, and all of these schemes, the overpayments, the ghost salaries, the budget that just balloons out of nowhere, people being moved from one place to another even after they wrecked the previous place that they were at, they were all documented way back when, yet 15 years later, we're having the same exact discussion about another New Jersey public school official, and this is because corruption is standard fare. And again, if you are a property tax payer in the state of New Jersey, you're already getting ripped off, you're already getting robbed, you're already getting scammed, but guess what? The scams keep going, and now after you get ripped off and your money is looted away from you, they try to sneak in stealth tax increases with confusing wording in an off-year special election in order to make sure they can pick your pockets rather cleanly.
Thank you so much for your time.
Christina Hunt declined an interview request, so in the public comment part of this school board meeting, we asked about the spending problems in her prior districts.
Did you ever approve spending that was not authorized by your prior boards?
She declined to answer our questions, in or outside the board meeting.
Who do you believe is to blame for some of the budget gaps in East Orange and Montclair?
So everybody should take note of the fact that Christina Hunt, at a public meeting for the school board where she is supposed to be answering questions of the public, isn't even bothering to look at somebody as he goes over her previous jobs, her previous positions, and her lack of bookkeeping skill or possible corruption in those positions. And nobody in the school board is even expecting her to answer, because guess what? New Jersey's public school system is one of the most corrupt in the entire union, so this is standard fare, and they truly genuinely believe they could just brush off this reporter. And since this local news segment only got about 1,000 views on YouTube, the fact is, for now, they've been correct about that. But the thing is, we are going to gin up the pressure on this particular story. We are going to make sure that Christina Hunt gets called out, because you can't go from school district to school district, blow the entire thing up, and then just start anew and expect to never face consequences. She is going to have to pay the piper for this, and no, it should not be on the Montclair taxpayers to suffer, because this woman doesn't give a damn about what she does with your taxpayer dollars.
Christina Hunt has not been accused of criminal or intentional wrongdoing, but the Montclair School District has now filed an insurance claim seeking to recoup $500,000, alleging Hunt failed to faithfully perform and discharge her duties when she agreed to pay a food service vendor hundreds of thousands of dollars, even though there was no board resolution agreeing to it.
So this is where we're at in the United States of America, where you have a corrupt or incompetent individual moving from place to place, avoiding all accountability, and then when the bill comes due, when the budget deficit that was being obscured from the public comes to light, the public is expected to vote for tax increases that they're not even well informed about in order to cover the costs of New Jersey's failed public school system, and it's absolutely shameful in every possible way. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about madness in the state of New Jersey, and of course there's schemes in order to cover it up. Till next time.